Hi, John Morgan here, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And well, this week I've got a couple things. The first is a look out in the greenhouse. A couple weeks ago we took a look at transplanting of the first combination baskets of the year. Today I wanted to take a jump back and look at some seedlings, because right now is the time of year where we're really like stuffed to the ears with seedlings, and one of our biggest crops is begonias. So right now we have one whole huge section out in the greenhouse that's full of begonias, and I thought it would be neat to kind of show you what a few million begonias look like in the greenhouse. So let's take a look at that. Alright, this evening I'm out here in the greenhouse, and behind me we have a few million begonia seedlings. So the begonias, they get their start in plug trays, and well, it's one of our biggest crops. So behind me here we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 8 bays full of begonias. So let's take a little bit of a closer look. So these trays with the orange tags that say bulbs on them are being grown for our own finished product production. So later on, in week 9, these guys will get transplanted into flats. When it comes to begonias like this, not only do you have the different flower colors, you also have different foliage colors. So you can have bronze leaf begonias, and then also green leaf begonias. So a lot of times in the name it'll say either bronze leaf or green leaf. So that's what creates kind of the variation in color. Looking down through the bay, you're seeing the bronze leaves and the green leaves mixed in. So we grow them all by variety, and then they're kind of put in the bay alphabetically. Alright, so that is a quick look at what's happening out in the greenhouse. And throughout the season, I'll do periodic greenhouse updates like that to kind of show you different aspects of how we grow things out in the greenhouse and kind of give you a behind the scenes look. Last week, I ran an ad for our spring color tour. And here pretty soon, I'm going to have it up on the website. So you can go and register for it. It's going to be in April, so keep an eye out for that whenever it pops up on the website. And speaking of last week, we took a look, let me grab them here, at Christmas cacti and how to trim them, and also how to take the clippings that you take off and root those. So the ones that I took clippings of, kind of right here on this side of the plant, they're doing pretty well. But I kind of wanted to show off the buds on this guy. It's getting ready to bloom. So this Christmas cactus, it was a little late to the party this year. So yeah, I'll be sure to get a good picture of the bloom and post it once it opens up. Over the last few weeks, we've been taking a look at houseplants because, well, right now it's really too cold and wet to get out in the garden. Although, I am going to be working on a video about pruning fruit trees here in the next few weeks, because right now is the optimal time to be pruning your fruit trees. So keep an eye out for that. it'll show up here on Bob's Live first, and then end up over on our YouTube channel. This week, I wanted to take a look at a plant that I actually talked about on our blog on Friday. And of course, Friday was Valentine's Day, and the plant that we took a look at was Anthurium. And the blog post, it was titled Anthurium, Plant with a Big Heart. And you can head over to bobsmarket.com and check that out. And I talk there about caring for Anthurium. And, well, I have an Anthurium at home, and it was due to be repotted. So I thought I would get that on video and share it with you. So let's take a look at how you can repot them and a little bit about caring for them. With Valentine's Day on Friday, I shared a blog post on our website about Anthurium. And it makes a great choice for Valentine's Day, especially if your loved one has allergies. Because, you see, they produce these blooms that look exactly like hearts. But it's not really a bloom. You see, it's a spathe and spadix. The spathe, right here, the red part, is a modified leaf. And the actual flowering part is the spadix right here. So they produce minimal pollen because it's all confined right here to the spadix. So again, if your loved one has allergies, these make a great choice. Now this guy, he's a couple years old and it's due for a repotting. So something that I do with Anthurium is I double pot them. So I have this outer pot, and then I have a smaller plastic pot on the inside. And that way, whenever I water it, I can pull out the center pot, give it a good soaking of water, really douse the soil, and then let it drain through until it stops dripping. Because Anthurium really needs to dry out in between waterings. And it also needs a really well-draining soil. So I'm going to transplant this into a pot that's a little bit bigger. And you might notice I'm using a chopped off yogurt container because I always like to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So along with the terrarium that I made a few weeks ago out of basically trash, I'm going the same brood here and reusing this container. I buy my yogurt in these large containers and they make great little pots to plant stuff in. I mean, they are extremely versatile. And the particular brand that I buy, it has a clear lid on it. And it's also great for starting seeds in because you basically have a little miniature greenhouse in the container. And then once the seeds are sprouted, you can take that lid off and use it as a drainage tray. But in this case, I'm going to be taking the container and actually putting it down inside of the more decorative pot. And that way, anytime that I need to water it, I can pull that out, give it some water. And there's also space down underneath here for it to drain into. So, let me go ahead and repot this. Another reason why I'm repotting it is it's kind of grown lopsided. And that was partially due to a little bit of neglect on my part. I didn't rotate it like I should. Anthurium, it really doesn't like bright light as far as direct sunlight. So you want to keep it out of direct sun. And I had this away from direct sunlight, but it still wants to grow toward the light. So what you have to do is rotate it every now and then to keep it growing evenly. And I didn't do that, so it got lopsided on me. So I'm actually going to take it and plant it a little bit cockeyed in the container here. Okay, so we'll stick it in here. I mean, it's not a tremendously larger container. This is just kind of a stopgap for me to get to start growing how I want it to, and then I'm going to pot it up into an even bigger pot. So, looking at that, I need to put some dirt on this side, and then once I get it in, I can pack some soil in around it. And this is some potting mix from our soil room. And this has a little bit higher mix of hydrofiber in it, so that way it'll drain a little bit better. Okay, I think that's going to be enough to get us started. I would like a larger lip around the edge here, but for the sake of looks, with it going back into this pot, I'm going with a little bit of a shorter edge on it. There's a little dead leaf we'll get. Alright, let's give it some water. Let's see if we need to add any more soil. Oh, we already have water leaking out the bottom. That is some fast draining soil. And I am going to have a flood here. That, I believe, is going to work out perfectly. And, well, I have a mess now to clean up. But that is as easy as it is to repot something like an Anthurium. And really, all of your houseplants will benefit from a periodic repotting. Some of them, you know, it depends on the plant. Some of them, like this, maybe once a year. Other plants, like the Christmas cactus that we were looking at last week, they can go 2, 3, sometimes 4 years without being repotted. It really depends on the type of plant. And of course, you always want to keep an eye on it to see how the roots are doing. That's the main thing, is looking at the roots and making sure that you have good root health. Even going back to our first Bob's Live episode of this year with the fiddle leaf fig. If you don't give them proper drainage, you're going to run into root rot issues. And it's something very similar with Anthurium. They need a really good draining soil, and you want to kind of do a pot in a pot method like this, where you can pull out that inner pot when you water it to let the water drain through and make sure that it's not setting in standing water. That's really the biggest cause of issues that I see with Anthurium. So, well, head over to our website at bobsmarket.com, and there you can find a blog post on caring for Anthurium and a little bit about the science behind their blooms. behind the spathe and the spadix. And we've got the bloom right here that's coming out, or this one has been out for a month or two. Around here on this side, it might be kind of hard to see, but right there, have a fresh bloom that's coming out. So here in the next few weeks, that'll unfurl, and we'll have another little heart on our Anthurium. So again, if you head over to our blog right now, our website at bobsmarket.com, the very first blog post is one on Anthurium care. And they are extremely easy to take care of. They just need, bright, indirect light and regular waterings. But that's kind of the key with Anthurium. It's one of those plants that I like to say people tend to kill with love. If anything, they overwater it, and that leads to root rot issues. And the best way to care for them is to give them a good soaking, like once a week in your sink, and let them set in the sink until all the water drains out, and then put them back in the pot. So doing that pot in a pot method works great for Anthurium. And well, that is our show for this week. If you've got any questions, be sure to leave them down in the chat below, and I'll be sure to respond to them. And well, until next time, keep growing. You're still watching? I'm done. Well, since you're still here, head over to bobsmarket.com and check out our website. We've got some really cool stuff over there, like the Keep Growing podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, smash that notification bell, and all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.